Jack Foster never imagined that pulling a dying woman from a Montana blizzard would put his daughter in danger. The stranger he saved wasn't just grateful. She was Judge Rachel Winters, a federal judge who refused to protect a billion-dollar corporation from murder charges. Now assassins were hunting her, and Jack's quiet life as a single dad mechanic was about to explode into a fight for survival that would reach the halls of Congress. One act of kindness, one terrible secret. Everything was about to change. Before we begin, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story. And comment below with your city or country so that I can see how far this story travels around the world. Now let's dive in. Someone's trying to kill me and you just became their problem too. Rachel said it like she was ordering coffee. Calm, matter of fact. Like she hadn't just dropped a bomb in Jack Foster's kitchen on a Friday morning while his 12-year-old daughter was upstairs getting ready for school. Jack set down his mug. What? The two men who came by yesterday asking about me, they weren't police. They work for Maxwell Industries, and now they know I'm here. Back up. Jack's pulse kicked up. Start from the beginning. There's no time. Make time. Rachel glanced at the stairs, lowered her voice. My name is Judge Rachel Winters, Federal District Court, Colorado. 6 weeks ago, I was assigned a case against Maxwell Industries, billion-dollar energy corporation. They're on trial for poisoning water supplies in 14 communities and bribing officials to cover it up. They wanted me to dismiss the case. I refused. So they tried to kill me. Jack stared at her. 3 days ago, he'd pulled this woman from a snowbank on Highway 89, barely alive. Blue lips, no pulse. He'd brought her back from the edge of death, and now she was telling him assassins were after her. The car crash, Jack said slowly. Not an accident. Cut brake lines. I went off a cliff. Should have died. Didn't. Started walking. Then the blizzard hit and I thought that was it. But you found me. And those men yesterday, tracking me, they're systematic. They'll canvass every house within a 50-mile radius of the crash site. And when they come back here with questions, what are you going to tell them? Jack heard Ella's footsteps upstairs. His daughter, his whole world. The girl who'd already lost her mother 2 years ago. You need to leave, Jack said. I know. Right now. I know. Neither of them moved. Where will you go? Jack asked. Rachel pulled out a crumpled business card. I have a contact. Federal Marshal in Billings, Tom Briggs. If I can reach him, he can get me into protective custody. That's 3 hours north. I'll walk if I have to. They'll find you before you make it 5 miles. Probably. So that's it. You're just going to walk out there and die. Rachel's jaw tightened. You have a better plan? Jack didn't. But before he could say anything, Ella came down the stairs with her backpack, saw them both standing there, and stopped. What's wrong? Nothing, baby. Get your coat. Dad, you're doing the voice. What voice? The army voice, when something's really wrong and you're pretending it's not. Ella looked at Rachel. Are you leaving? Rachel opened her mouth, closed it. She looked at Jack. Yeah, Jack said. Rachel has to go visit some friends. When will she come back? I don't know. Ella's eyes filled with tears. She'd gotten attached. 3 days was all it took. 3 days of Rachel fixing the piano, helping with homework, filling the empty spaces in their house. And now it was ending. It's not fair, Ella whispered. I know. Everything good always leaves. The words hit Jack like a punch. He knelt in front of his daughter. Hey, look at me. Nothing's going to happen. Rachel's going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. You promise? Jack had learned not to make promises he couldn't keep. Sarah's death had taught him that. But looking at his daughter's face, he heard himself say, I promise. After he dropped Ella at school, Jack drove back home. Rachel was standing at the window watching the road. They're coming back, she said. I can feel it. Then we move fast. Pack your stuff. I'll drive you to Billings. Jack, you can't. If they see us together, if they track you, I'm not letting you walk into a death trap. It's not your fight. It is now. Rachel turned from the window. Why? You don't know me. 3 days ago, I was nobody. Just a frozen body on the side of the road. You fixed my daughter's piano. You made her smile for the first time in 2 years. That's not nobody. That's not worth dying for. Let me decide what's worth dying for. They stared at each other. Then Rachel said quietly, Your wife, how did she die? The question caught Jack off guard, like cancer. 2 years ago. And you couldn't save her? No. So, this is about redemption. Jack's hands clenched. This is about doing what's right. Even if it gets you killed. I didn't die in Kandahar. I didn't die in Helmand Province. I'm not dying in Montana. Rachel studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, but we do this smart. We take back roads. We leave after dark. And we get Ella somewhere safe first. My sister's place, next town over. Good. Because if something happens to that little girl because of me, nothing's going to happen. But Jack was already thinking about his gun safe. The Sig Sauer P-26 he'd carried in the army. He hadn't touched it in 2 years. Hadn't wanted it in the house with Ella around, but tonight was different. Tonight he was going back to war. They spent the afternoon preparing. Jack called his sister Marie, told her he had a last-minute job that would keep him overnight. Marie agreed to take Ella without asking questions. Good. The less she knew, the safer she'd be. Rachel made phone calls on a burner phone she'd been hiding in her jacket. Calls to her contact, calls to other federal marshals, calls to lawyers building the case against Maxwell Industries. Each call was quick, coded, careful. They're desperate, Rachel said after the last call. The trial resumes Monday. If I testify they're finished, executives, politicians, everyone goes down. Then we get you there. Jack, you don't understand how big this is. Maxwell Industries owns people. Judges, cops, politicians. Half the government in 3 states is on their payroll. So they have unlimited resources, unlimited reach. And right now they're hunting me like I'm an animal. Jack looked at her. I grew up in Montana. My grandfather taught me to hunt when I was 8 years old. And you know what he always said? Doesn't matter how big the predator is, the prey that fights back is the prey that survives. Rachel smiled slightly. You're really going to do this? Already doing it. At 2 p.m., Jack went to his workshop. The gun safe sat in the corner behind a workbench. He hadn't opened it since Sarah's funeral. Inside was his service pistol, 2 magazines, and a box of ammunition. Jack checked the weapon, loaded a magazine, chambered a round. Muscle memory took over. 15 years in the Army had wired these movements into his brain. Safety check, sight alignment, trigger discipline. I didn't know you had a gun. Jack turned. Rachel stood in the doorway watching him. I don't like having it around Ella. But tonight's different. Tonight's different. Rachel walked closer. You know how to use that? 3 tours in Afghanistan. Yeah, I know how to use it. Good. Because they won't hesitate. These people, they're not thugs. They're professionals, ex-military, ex-intelligence. Maxwell hires the best. So did the U.S. Army. At 3 p.m., something changed. Jack was checking the truck's oil when he noticed it. A car parked 3 houses down. Dark sedan, tinted windows, engine running. It had been there for 20 minutes. Nobody had gotten out. Jack kept working, didn't look directly at the car, but his mind was calculating. Distance, angles, exit routes. He went back inside. Rachel, we have a problem. She was at the window before he finished the sentence. Where? 3 houses down. Dark sedan. Been sitting there 20 minutes. Rachel's face went pale. They're watching, waiting to see if I'm still here. Or waiting for dark. We need to leave, now. Can't. Ella doesn't get out of school for another hour. Jack, I'm not leaving my daughter. Rachel nodded. Then we prepare. Do you have a back door? Yeah. Windows in every room. Most of them. Good. If they come in the front, we go out the back, we get to your truck, and we drive. No hesitation. Jack grabbed his gun. You know how to shoot. Federal judge. I qualified on the range every year. There's a backup piece in the safe. Glock 19. Take it. Rachel didn't argue. She took the gun, checked it like she knew what she was doing, and tucked it into her jacket. They waited. The car didn't move. At 3:45 p.m., Jack's phone rang. The school. His stomach dropped. Mr. Foster, this is Principal Morrison. I'm calling about Ella. What happened? 2 men came by asking questions. They said they were with Child Protective Services. They wanted to know about your home situation, whether Ella had mentioned any new people staying with you. Jack's blood turned to ice. What did you tell them? Nothing. Their credentials looked fake. I asked them to leave, but Mr. Foster, if someone's investigating you. They're not. It's a misunderstanding. I'm coming to get Ella right now. He hung up, looked at Rachel. They went to the school. Oh, God. They're not just tracking you. They're threatening my daughter. Something snapped in Jack. The fear turned into rage. Cold. Controlled. The kind of anger that had kept him alive in Kandahar when insurgents ambushed his convoy. The kind that made him dangerous. Change of plans, Jack said. We're not waiting for dark. We're leaving now. I pick up Ella, drop her at Marie's, and then we drive straight through to Billings. Whoever's watching can try to stop us. Jack? I'm done being careful. I'm done hiding. These people came after my daughter, and that's a line they shouldn't have crossed. He grabbed his keys. Rachel grabbed her bag. They moved fast. Out the back door across the yard to where the truck sat in the driveway. The dark sedan was still there. Jack saw the driver's head turn. Watching. Get in, Jack said. They got in. Jack started the engine. And before the sedan could react, he reversed, hard swung around, and drove straight past it. Close enough to see the driver's face. Young? Clean cut? Definitely not local. The sedan's engine roared. It pulled out behind them. They're following, Rachel said. Good, let them follow. They want to know where we're going. I'll show them. Jack drove fast. Not reckless. Controlled. He knew these roads. Every turn, every pothole. He'd been driving them for 35 years. The sedan kept pace. 5 minutes later, Jack pulled into the school parking lot. The sedan stopped a block away. Watching. Stay in the truck, Jack said. Lock the doors. If anyone approaches you, drive. Where will you be? Getting my daughter? Jack walked into the school. Principal Morrison met him in the lobby, her face worried. Mr. Foster, those men, did they touch Ella? No, we kept her in my office, but she's scared. Where is she? Waiting room. Mr. Foster, should I call the police? Jack thought about what Rachel had said. Maxwell owns judges, cops, politicians. No, I'll handle it. He found Ella sitting on a chair, her backpack clutched to her chest. When she saw him, she burst into tears. Daddy, these men came and they asked about Rachel, and I didn't know what to say. It's okay. Jack scooped her up, held her tight. You didn't do anything wrong. We're leaving now. Where are we going? Aunt Marie's house. What about Rachel? Rachel's in the truck. She's coming with us. They walked out together. Jack kept Ella close, his eyes scanning the parking lot. The sedan was still there, still watching. Jack put Ella in the back seat next to Rachel. Hi, sweetheart, Rachel said softly. You okay? Ella nodded, but her hands were shaking. Jack got in, started the engine, and drove. The sedan followed them all the way to Marie's house. Marie lived in Highwood, population 800. Her house sat on a quiet street with big yards and old trees. When Jack pulled into the driveway, the sedan cruised past slowly, then disappeared around the corner. They're not even hiding anymore, but says, Rachel said. They're sending a message. They know who I am. They know about Ella. They want me scared. Are you? Terrified, but that's not going to stop me. Marie came out onto the porch. She was older than Jack by 5 years, her hair graying, her eyes sharp. She took one look at Jack's face and knew. What's going on? Can't explain right now. Can you take Ella for the night? Of course, but Jack, I'll call you later. Just keep her inside. Lock the doors. Don't answer for anyone except me. Marie's eyes narrowed. You're in trouble. Not me, but yeah, it's complicated. Ella didn't want to let go when Jack hugged her goodbye. She held on tight, her face buried in his shoulder. Promise you'll come back, she whispered. I promise. You said that about Mom, too. You said she'd come home. The words broke something in Jack. He pulled back, looked his daughter in the eyes. This is different. I'm coming back. I swear on everything that matters, I'm coming back. Ella nodded, wiped her tears, and went inside with Marie. Jack stood on the porch for a moment, watching them disappear. Then he turned to Rachel, who waited in the truck. You ready? She asked when he got in. No, but let's do it anyway. They drove north. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Jack kept checking the mirrors. For the first hour, nothing. Then just as darkness fell, headlights appeared behind them. High, bright, coming fast. Here we go, Jack muttered. Rachel tensed. How far to Billings? 2 hours. We're not going to make it. Watch me. The vehicle behind them accelerated. Jack could see it now. Black SUV, tinted windows. Same one that had followed them earlier, or maybe a different one. Didn't matter. They all worked for Maxwell. Jack pressed the accelerator. His old Ford groaned but picked up speed. 60, 70, 80. The SUV kept pace. They're not trying to hide anymore, Rachel said. Good. I'm tired of games. The SUV came closer. 50 feet, 40, 30. Then it pulled alongside them. Jack? The passenger window rolled down. Jack saw the gun. Down, he shouted. Rachel dove toward the floor as the first shot shattered the passenger window. Glass exploded inward. Jack jerked the wheel left, slamming into the SUV. Metal screamed. The SUV swerved. Another shot rang out, hitting the door panel. Jack floored it. The truck surged forward. He cranked the wheel right, taking them onto a smaller county road. The SUV tried to follow, but overshot the turn, had to brake hard, and Jack gained precious seconds. You hit! Jack yelled. No, keep driving. The road narrowed. Trees pressed in on both sides. Jack's hands were locked on the wheel, his mind crystal clear. This was muscle memory, combat driving, evasive maneuvers. The Army had trained him for this exact scenario. The SUV caught up again. This time it rammed them from behind. The truck jerked forward. Jack fought the wheel, keeping them straight. Another ram, harder. The truck fishtailed. Jack corrected his pulse hammering, but his hands steady. They're trying to run us off the road, Rachel said, climbing back into her seat. Not going to work. Jack took a hard left onto an even smaller road. Gravel. Trees thick on both sides. Darkness closing in. The SUV followed its high beams, flooding the cab with light. Then Jack saw it. A turnoff ahead. Unmarked. Leading into the forest. He'd hunted these woods as a kid. He knew where it went. Hold on, Jack said. He hit the brakes. The truck skidded. Then he cranked the wheel hard right, taking them onto the turnoff. The SUV blew past them, unable to stop in time. Jack killed the headlights, kept driving, using only the faint glow of the moon to navigate. The road was rough, narrow. But it was there. Behind them, the SUV reversed. Searching. Its headlights swept across the trees. Jack kept driving. Quiet, slow. Every bump and rock threatening to give them away. Rachel didn't say a word. She barely breathed. 5 minutes later, they emerged onto another county road. Jack turned north, flipped the headlights back on, and drove. Did we lose them? Rachel asked. For now. How did you know about that road? Used to hunt deer out here with my grandfather. These mountains have 1,000 roads like that. You just have to know where to look. Rachel laughed. It was shaky, borderline hysterical, but it was a laugh. A mechanic and a hunter. Maxwell Industries sent professionals after me and they got outmaneuvered by a small-town single dad. Don't celebrate yet. They'll find us again. How? Because I know how they think, and they're not going to stop until one of us is dead. They drove in silence for a while. Then Rachel said, Tell me about your wife. Why? Oh, because we might die tonight, and I want to know why you're doing this. Jack was quiet. Then he started talking. Sarah was a third-grade teacher. She loved her job, loved those kids. When she got diagnosed with cancer, she tried to keep working. Said the kids needed her, but it spread fast. 3 months from diagnosis to gone. Jack's voice roughened. We spent everything trying to save her. Sold our house. Drove to Billings twice a week for treatment. And it didn't matter. She died anyway. I'm sorry. The worst part was Ella. Watching my daughter lose her mother. She's 12. She should be worried about school dances, not whether her dad's coming home every night. I couldn't save Sarah, but maybe I can save you. Maybe that means something. Rachel reached over and squeezed his hand. It means everything. They drove through the night. Jack took back roads, avoiding highways. Every set of headlights made his heart jump, but nothing followed them. At 11 p.m., they saw the lights of Billings in the distance. Almost there, Jack said. Don't jinx it. They were 10 miles outside the city when the headlights appeared again. High, bright, coming fast. No, Rachel breathed. How did they find us? They tracked us somehow. GPS, phone signal. Something. The vehicle accelerated. Within seconds, it was right behind them. Then it rammed them, hard. The truck spun. Jack fought the wheel, but the ice on the road betrayed him. They skidded sideways, kept spinning. The world turned into a blur of lights and darkness. Then they hit the embankment. The truck rolled. Once, twice, glass shattered, metal crumpled. Jack's head cracked against something hard. Pain exploded through his skull. Everything went black. When Jack opened his eyes, the world was upside down. The truck was on its roof. He was hanging from his seatbelt, blood dripping from his forehead. "Rachel!" he croaked. She was unconscious, blood on her face, but breathing. Jack fumbled with his seatbelt. It released and he fell onto the crumpled roof. Pain shot through his ribs, broken probably. He crawled toward Rachel. Outside car doors slammed. Footsteps, voices. "Check the truck, make sure they're dead." Jack's hand found his gun, still in his jacket, still loaded. He pulled it out, his movements slow and deliberate, despite the pain screaming through his body. The passenger door opened. A man leaned in. Clean cut. Professional. Gun in hand. Jack shot him. The man fell backwards, screaming. More shouts. Jack dragged himself out of the truck, gun raised. His vision was blurred. His head pounded. But his hands were steady. 2 more men. Both armed. Both moving toward him. Jack fired. Once, twice. Both men went down, then he collapsed. He heard sirens in the distance. Red and blue lights flashing. Help was coming, but Jack couldn't move. His body had given everything it had. "Rachel," he whispered. "Rachel, hold on." Strong hands grabbed him. A voice said, "Federal Marshal, you're safe." "Rachel, we've got her. You did it. You got her here alive." Jack let the darkness take him. When he woke up, he was in a hospital, white walls, beeping machines, pain everywhere. A figure sat in the chair beside his bed. Rachel. Her head was bandaged, her arm in a sling, but she was alive. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey. You saved my life, again. Told you I'd get you to Billings." Rachel smiled. Tears streamed down her face. 3 men are dead, Jack. You killed 3 people to protect me." "I know. The marshals say it was self-defense. You won't be charged." "Okay." "And Maxwell Industries is finished. With my testimony and the evidence we have, they're going down. Every executive, every politician on their payroll, all of them." Jack nodded. "Good." "But Jack," Rachel's voice broke, "you almost died. Your daughter almost lost you because of me. Worth it. How can you say that?" Jack looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd stood up to a billion-dollar corporation. This woman who'd risked everything for justice. This woman who'd played piano with his daughter and made their broken house feel whole again. Because Jack said some fights are worth having, and some people are worth saving. You're both. Rachel broke down crying. She took Jack's hand and held it tight. Outside the hospital window, snow began to fall. But for the first time in 2 years, Jack Foster wasn't afraid of the storm. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and bad coffee. Jack had been awake for 3 hours, and the doctors kept telling him he needed to rest. But rest meant closing his eyes, and closing his eyes meant seeing those 3 men fall. Hearing the gunshots, feeling the recoil in his hands. "You're thinking about it," Rachel said. Jack looked at her. She was still sitting in the chair beside his bed, her arm in a sling, a bandage wrapped around her head. She hadn't left since he'd woken up. "How do you know?" "Because I see it on your face. The same look soldiers get when they come back from war. I killed 3 people. You saved my life. That doesn't make it easier." Rachel leaned forward. "Jack, those men were going to execute us. They weren't going to arrest us or scare us. They were going to put bullets in our heads and dump our bodies in a ditch. You did what you had to do." "I know that up here." Jack tapped his temple. "But knowing it doesn't make the pictures go away." Before Rachel could respond, the door opened. A tall man in a suit walked in. Gray hair, hard eyes, Tom Briggs, the federal marshal. "Mr. Foster," Briggs said, "how are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck and then shot 3 people. "Fair assessment." Briggs pulled up a chair. "I need to ask you some questions about last night." "Am I under arrest?" "No. The Montana State Police reviewed the evidence. Dashcam footage from our vehicles, the weapons found on the deceased, their identities. All 3 men were hired contractors with records, military backgrounds. They were armed and pursuing you with lethal intent. It's a clean self-defense case." Jack nodded. "So, I'm free to go." Once the doctors clear you, yes, but Mr. Foster, I need you to understand something. You just killed 3 employees of Maxwell Industries. They're going to retaliate. Let them. Briggs raised an eyebrow. That's not bravado I'm hearing. That's exhaustion talking. That's me being done with hiding. They came after my daughter. They tried to kill me and Rachel. I'm not running anymore. Which is why, Briggs said, I'm assigning protective custody to you and your daughter until this trial is over. Jack sat up wincing as pain shot through his ribs. I don't need protection. Yes, you do. Maxwell Industries has unlimited resources and they're desperate. Judge Winters testifies on Monday. That's 4 days away. 4 days for them to try again. Then put guards on Rachel. Leave me and Ella out of it. Can't do that. You're a witness now. You killed 3 of their contractors. The defense will use that. They'll paint you as a vigilante. They'll try to discredit everything. Rachel spoke up. He's right, Jack. You're part of this now, whether you want to be or not. Jack looked between them. Then he said, Where's Ella? With your sister, Briggs said. Marie Hendricks. We have 2 agents watching the house. I want to see her. Not a good idea right now. I don't care what's a good idea. My daughter thinks I'm dead. I need to see her. Briggs sighed. I'll make some calls. 2 hours later, Marie walked into the hospital room with Ella. The moment Ella saw Jack, she ran to him. He caught her ignoring the pain in his ribs as she buried her face in his chest and sobbed. I thought you died, Ella choked out. Aunt Marie said you were in the hospital, and I thought, I'm okay, baby. I'm okay. You promised you'd come back. And I did. I'm right here. Ella pulled back her face streaked with tears. Then she turned to Rachel. This is your fault. Rachel flinched. Ella, Jack said sharply. No, Dad, it is. Those men came to my school because of her. You almost died because of her. Mom's gone and now you almost left me too, and it's all because you saved her. The room went silent. Marie stood by the door, her face pale. Rachel looked like she'd been slapped. Jack took Ella's hands. Listen to me. What happened wasn't Rachel's fault. She didn't ask those men to come after her. She didn't ask me to help. I chose to. Because it was the right thing to do. But you could have died. I didn't. But you could have. Jack didn't have an answer for that. Because she was right. He could have died. He almost did. And if he had, Ella would have been alone. I'm sorry, Rachel said quietly. Ella, I'm so sorry. Your dad's right. He chose to help me, but I never should have let him. I should have walked out that first morning and dealt with this alone. Then you would be dead, Jack said. Maybe, but you'd be safe, and Ella wouldn't hate me. I don't hate you, Ella said, her voice small. I'm just scared. Rachel nodded. Me too. Marie cleared her throat. Jack, can I talk to you outside? Jack looked at Ella. You okay for a minute? Ella nodded. She sat down in the chair Rachel had vacated, her hands twisted in her lap. Rachel moved to the window, giving them space. Jack limped into the hallway with Marie. His sister crossed her arms and looked at him. What the hell were you thinking? I was thinking I needed to help someone. You have a daughter, Jack. A daughter who needs her father, not a dead hero. I'm not dead. You could have been. And then what, Ella grows up without either parent? She ends up in foster care because you decided to play knight in shining armor. Jack's jaw tightened. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, you risked everything for a woman you knew for 3 days. She's a federal judge, Marie. She stood up to criminals and they tried to kill her for it. What was I supposed to do? Let her die? You were supposed to think about your daughter first. The words hit Jack like a punch. Because Marie was right. He hadn't thought about Ella, not really. He'd thought about saving Rachel, about doing the right thing, about redemption, but he hadn't thought about what would happen to Ella if he didn't come back. I'm sorry, Jack said quietly. Marie's expression softened. I know you are, and I know you did what you thought was right. But Jack, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep putting yourself in danger. Because Ella needs you, and she can't lose you too. I know. Do you? Because right now there are the federal marshals outside this hospital. There are men with guns watching my house, and my niece is terrified that her father is going to die. So I need you to promise me something. What? Promise me that once this is over, you're done. No more heroics, no more risks. You go back to being a mechanic and a dad. That's it. Jack wanted to promise, but he thought about Rachel standing at that window, about the look on her face when Ella said it was her fault, about how this woman had risked everything for justice and was now watching a 12-year-old girl blame her for almost losing her father. "I'll try," Jack said. "That's not good enough." "It's all I've got." Marie shook her head. "You're just like Dad, stubborn and righteous and convinced you can save the world." "Dad saved a lot of people. And he died at 53 from a heart attack because the stress killed him. Is that what you want? To die young and leave Ella alone?" Jack didn't answer, because he didn't have an answer. When he went back into the room, Ella was talking quietly with Rachel. They both looked up when he entered. "We were just talking," Rachel said. "About the piano. Ella says she wants to learn the song I was teaching her." "The one you never finished?" Jack asked. "Yeah, but I told her I'd come back and finish it once this is all over." "You promise?" Ella asked. Rachel hesitated. Then she said, "I promise." Briggs appeared in the doorway. "Judge Winters, we need to go. Your protective detail is waiting." Rachel stood. She looked at Jack. "Thank you for everything." "Where are they taking you?" "Can't say, security protocol, but I'll see you at the trial. You're being subpoenaed as a witness." "Great." Rachel walked to the door. Then she stopped, turned back. "Jack, your sister's right. You should think about Ella. This isn't your fight anymore. It became my fight the moment I pulled you out of that snow. You can walk away now. No one would blame you." "I'm not walking away." Rachel smiled sad. "I didn't think you would." Then she was gone. Briggs followed her out and the room felt emptier. Ella moved to sit on the edge of Jack's hospital bed. "Dad." "Yeah, baby." "Are you going to the trial?" "I have to. I'm a witness." "What if those bad people come after you again?" "They won't." "How do you know?" Jack didn't know, but he pulled Ella close and said, "Because I'm not going to let them, and neither are the federal marshals. We're going to be safe. I promise." "You keep making promises." "Because I keep them." Ella rested her head on his shoulder. "I don't want you to be brave anymore. I want you to be safe." "I know." "Then why can't you just stay here?" "Why do you have to go to the trial?" "Because Rachel needs me." "I need you too." Jack closed his eyes. "I know, and I'm going to be here for you, but right now, Rachel needs me more." "That's not fair." "I know." They sat in silence for a while, then Ella said, "Do you like her?" "Who, Rachel?" "Yeah." Jack thought about it. "I respect her. She's brave. She's doing the right thing even though it's dangerous." "But do you like her, like how you liked Mom?" "No, it's not like that." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." But even as Jack said it, he wasn't entirely certain, because there was something about Rachel Winters, something in the way she played piano with Ella, the way she'd fixed their broken house in 3 days, the way she looked at him when she said thank you. It wasn't love. Jack knew what love felt like. He'd loved Sarah with everything he had. But it was something, connection, understanding, the bond between two people who'd survived something terrible together. The doctors released Jack the next day. Briggs arranged for protective custody at a safe house outside Billing. It was a small cabin in the woods with 2 federal marshals standing guard and no phone signal. Jack spent 3 days there with Ella and Marie, counting down the hours until Monday. On Sunday night, Jack's phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. "Mr. Foster?" "Who's this?" "My name is David Kellerman. I'm an attorney representing Maxwell Industries." Jack's blood went cold. "How did you get this number?" "That's not important. What's important is that I have an offer for you." "Not interested." "Mr. Foster, you killed 3 people. Self-defense or not, that's going to haunt you. The media will tear you apart. Your daughter will see your face on every news channel with the word killer underneath it. Is that what you want?" "What do you want?" "Don't testify. You're not essential to the prosecution's case. Judge Winters has the evidence. She doesn't need you. Just stay home with your daughter and let this play out. And if I do, Maxwell Industries will make it worth your while. $100,000 cash. Enough to get you and Ella out of Montana. Start fresh somewhere safe." Jack laughed. "You're trying to bribe me. I'm trying to protect you. You have no idea what you're walking into. The trial starts tomorrow. Every major news network will be there. Every journalist. And they're going to dig into your life, Mr. Foster. They're going to find out about your wife's death, about the medical bills, about how you're barely making ends meet as a small-town mechanic. They're going to paint you as someone who saw an opportunity and took it. I saved Rachel's life. You killed 3 men and you're calling it heroism. The jury might not see it that way. The jury's not judging me. They're judging Maxwell Industries. Are you sure about that? Because my firm has 40 lawyers working this case, and every single one of them is looking for a way to discredit Judge Winters. You know what's easier than attacking a federal judge? Attacking the man who killed 3 people to protect her will make you look like a vigilante, a man with a savior complex who put his daughter in danger for a woman he barely knew. Jack's hand tightened on the phone. You threatening me? I'm warning you. Walk away now while you still can. Take the money. Protect your daughter. Let this go. And if I don't, then we'll destroy you. Jack hung up. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. Ella appeared in the doorway of his bedroom. Dad? Who is that? Nobody important. You're doing the voice again. Jack looked at his daughter, at her worried face, at the fear in her eyes. And he made a decision. Come here, he said. Ella sat down next to him. Jack put his arm around her. Tomorrow I'm going to court. I'm going to testify. And there are going to be people who try to make me look bad, who say I did the wrong thing. But I need you to know something. What? I don't regret saving Rachel, not for a second, because she's a good person who stood up to bad people. And if I didn't help her, she'd be dead. And those bad people would win. But what about us? You and me. We're going to be fine. Because we've been through worse and we survived. We lost Mom and we survived. We're going to survive this too. Ella nodded slowly. Do you promise? I promise. Okay. She hugged him tight. I love you, Dad. I love you too, baby. Monday morning came too fast. Jack put on the only suit he owned, the one he'd worn to Sarah's funeral. It still smelled faintly of her perfume. He stared at himself in the mirror and tried to remember the last time he'd testified in court. Never. He'd never done this before. Briggs drove him to the courthouse. It was a massive building with white columns and dozens of steps leading up to the entrance. News vans lined the street. Cameras everywhere. Reporters shouting questions. Stay close, Briggs said. Don't answer any questions, just keep walking. They pushed through the crowd. Microphones shoved in Jack's face. Questions fired at him like bullets. Mr. Foster, is it true you killed 3 men? Are you in a relationship with Judge Winters? Did Maxwell Industries offer you money to disappear? Jack kept his head down and kept walking. Inside the courthouse, it was quieter. Marble floors, high ceilings, people in suits moving with purpose. Briggs led him to a waiting room. You'll be called in about an hour. The prosecution wants to go over your testimony one more time. Where's Rachel? In another room. You can't see her until after you testify, risk of collusion. That's ridiculous. That's the law. Jack sat down and waited. The prosecution team came in, 3 attorneys in expensive suits who asked him the same questions over and over. What happened the night he found Rachel? What she told him? What happened on the drive to Billings? The shooting, every detail. They're going to try to break you, the lead attorney said. Her name was Catherine Shaw, and she had sharp eyes and a sharper voice. The defense will paint you as unstable, a grieving widower who latched onto the first woman who showed him attention. They'll say you killed 3 men not in self-defense, but because you wanted to be a hero. Let them. Mr. Foster, this isn't a game. Your testimony matters. If you fall apart on that stand, it damages Judge Winters' credibility. I won't fall apart. Are you sure? Because you look like you haven't slept in 3 days. I haven't, but I'll be fine. Shaw studied him. Then she nodded. Okay, just remember, answer only what's asked, don't volunteer information, and no matter what they say, stay calm. Got it. An hour later, a bailiff called his name. Jack stood, smoothed his suit, and walked into the courtroom. It was packed, every seat filled. The jury box held 12 people who stared at him with varying degrees of curiosity and suspicion. The judge sat at her bench, an older man with white hair and a stern expression. And at the defense table sat 6 lawyers in suits that probably cost more than Jack's truck, all of them watching him like wolves watching prey. Jack took the stand, placed his hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. Shaw approached. Mr. Foster, can you tell the court what happened on the night of February 7th? Jack took a breath and started talking. He told them about the blizzard, about finding Rachel, about bringing her home and saving her life. He told them about the two men who came asking questions, about Rachel's confession, about the drive to Billings. Shaw asked careful questions, leading him through the story, making it clear and simple, heroic. Then it was the defense's turn. The lead defense attorney was a man named Richard Blackwell. He was in his 50s with silver hair and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He approached Jack like a predator approaching wounded prey. "Mr. Foster," Blackwell said, "you've had a difficult few years, haven't you?" "Objection," Shaw said. "Relevance." "I'm establishing context, Your Honor." The judge nodded. "Overruled. Answer the question, Mr. Foster." Jack looked at Blackwell. "My wife died 2 years ago, so yeah, difficult." "Cancer, correct?" "Yes." "And the medical bills bankrupted you." "We spent everything trying to save her." "So when you found Judge Winters in that snow, you were a man in financial distress, a widower, a single father struggling to make ends meet." Jack's jaw tightened. "What's your point?" "My point, Mr. Foster, is that you had every reason to see Judge Winters as an opportunity. A wealthy federal judge who owed you her life. That's valuable, isn't it?" "I didn't save her for money." "No? Then why did you save her?" "Because she was dying." "But you didn't just save her. You took her into your home, you hid her from authorities, you drove her across state lines while armed, and then you killed 3 men. "I defended us." "Did you, or did you see a chance to be important? To matter again, your wife died and you couldn't save her. Maybe this was your chance at redemption." "Objection." Shaw stood. "Counsel is badgering the witness." "Sustained. Mr. Blackwell, ask questions, don't make speeches." Blackwell smiled. "Mr. Foster, do you own a gun?" "Yes." "Military issue?" "Yes." "And you're trained in combat?" "I served 3 tours in Afghanistan." "So you're familiar with killing?" Jack felt his pulse spike. "I'm familiar with defending myself and others." 3 men are dead because of you, Mr. Foster. Doesn't that make you a killer?" "Those men were trying to kill us." "According to you?" "According to the evidence, the weapons they carried, the dashcam footage, the fight." "Mr. Foster," Blackwell interrupted, "how much money has the prosecution offered you to testify?" "None." "Really? Because I find it hard to believe you'd risk your daughter's safety, your own life, and face murder charges for nothing." "I didn't murder anyone." "The district attorney agreed not to charge you. That's convenient." "That's justice. Or a deal. You testify against Maxwell Industries and you walk free." "That's not what happened. Isn't it you kill 3 people and suddenly you're a hero instead of a criminal? All because you agreed to help the prosecution." Jack leaned forward. "I helped a woman who was being hunted for doing the right thing. Those men tried to execute us. I stopped them. If that makes me a killer, then fine, but I'd do it again." The courtroom went silent. Blackwell stared at him. Then he smiled. "No further questions." Jack stepped down from the stand. His legs felt weak. His heart was pounding, but he'd done it. He'd told the truth. Shaw met him in the hallway. "You did good." "Doesn't feel like it." "Blackwell tried to rattle you. He failed. The jury saw that." "What happens now?" "Judge Winters testifies tomorrow. Then closing arguments. Then we wait." "How long?" "Could be days, could be weeks." Jack nodded. He wanted to see Rachel, wanted to know she was okay, but Briggs intercepted him. "We need to get you back to the safe house." "I want to see Rachel first." "Can't. Not until after her testimony." "Why not?" "Because if the defense finds out you two talked, they'll claim collusion. They'll say you coordinated your stories." "That's insane." "That's the law. Come on, let's go." Jack let Briggs lead him out of the courthouse, back through the bog cameras and reporters, back into the SUV, back to the safe house where Ella was waiting. When he walked in, she ran to him. "How did it go?" "It went." "Did you tell them the truth?" "Every word." Ella hugged him. "I'm proud of you." Jack held his daughter and tried to believe that everything would be okay. That Rachel would testify tomorrow, that Maxwell Industries would fall. That justice would win. But deep down, Jack knew the fight wasn't over. Not yet. That night at the safe house, Jack couldn't sleep. He lay in the small bedroom staring at the ceiling, listening to Ella's quiet breathing in the bed next to his. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Blackwell's face, heard his voice. 3 men are dead because of you, Mr. Foster. Doesn't that make you a killer? Maybe it did. At 3 a.m., Jack gave up trying to sleep. He walked into the main room where one of the federal marshals sat watching the security monitors. Can't sleep? The marshal asked. His name was Peters, young guy, maybe late 20s. Too much going on in my head. First time testifying? Yeah. You did good. I watched it on the live feed. You held your ground. Jack poured himself coffee from the pot that was always brewing. Doesn't feel like it. That's normal. Defense attorneys are trained to make you feel like garbage. It's their job. He called me a killer. Are you... Jack looked at him. Peter's face was neutral, not judging, just asking. I don't know, Jack said finally. I know I pulled the trigger. I know 3 men died. I know it was self-defense, but does that make me not a killer? It makes you someone who survived. There's a difference. Is there... Peter shrugged. I was in Iraq. Second tour, my convoy got hit by an IED. 3 of my buddies died. The insurgents who planted it came out shooting. I killed 2 of them. Felt sick about it for months. Couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Kept seeing their faces. How'd you get past it? I didn't. Not really. I just learned to live with it. Learned that sometimes killing someone is the only way to save someone else. Doesn't make it easier. But it makes it bearable. Jack nodded. Did you ever think about quitting, walking away every day? But then I realized something. If guys like me walk away, who's left? The people who don't care, the ones who enjoy it. Peters looked at Jack. You saved a federal judge's life. You protected your daughter. You did what most people wouldn't have the guts to do. That's not something to feel guilty about. Tell that to my brain at 3 a.m.? Peters smiled. Give it time. It gets easier. Jack wasn't sure he believed that, but he appreciated Peters trying. The sun came up at 6:47 a.m. Jack made breakfast for Ella. Scrambled eggs and toast. She ate in silence, pushing the food around her plate. You okay? Jack asked. Are you going back to court today? No, Rachel's testifying. I don't need to be there. But you want to be. Jack looked at his daughter. She was too perceptive for 12. Yeah, I want to be. Why? Because she's alone up there, and I know what that feels like. Ella set down her fork. Dad, are you in love with her? What? No. Where'd that come from? You keep wanting to be near her. You keep talking about her. You saved her life twice. That doesn't mean I'm in love with her. Then what does it mean? Jack thought about it. Really thought about it. It means I care about what happens to her. She's a good person who got dealt a bad hand, and I want to make sure she comes out of this okay. Like how you wanted Mom to come out of the hospital okay. The comparison stung. It's not the same. Isn't it? You couldn't save Mom, so now you're trying to save Rachel. Jack closed his eyes. Maybe, I don't know, but Ella, I need you to understand something. What I feel for Rachel isn't what I felt for your mom. Your mom was my world, my everything. Rachel is someone I respect, someone I want to help. That's different. But what if it changes? What if you start feeling more? Then I'll deal with it. But right now, all I'm focused on is making sure she's safe and making sure you're safe. That's it. Ella nodded slowly. Okay, I believe you. Good. But Dad, yeah, if you do start to love her, that's okay. You're allowed to be happy again. Jack felt his throat tighten. Thanks, baby. At 9 a.m., Briggs arrived with news. Judge Winters takes the stand in an hour. Shaw says it's going to be intense. Maxwell's team is going to hit her with everything they've got. Can I watch? Jack asked. From here, yeah. We've got a live feed. Jack sat down in front of the monitor. Peters adjusted the angle so he could see the courtroom clearly. And then Rachel walked in. She wore a dark blue suit. Her hair was pulled back. The bandage was gone from her head, but Jack could see the faint bruise still coloring her temple. She walked to the witness stand with her shoulders back and her head high. Confident. Strong. But Jack saw the fear in her eyes. Shaw started with easy questions. Background, education, how Rachel became a judge, her record, establishing credibility. Then Shaw got to the case. Judge Winters, can you tell the court how you came to be assigned the Maxwell Industries case? Rachel's voice was steady. I was randomly selected from the pool of available federal judges. It's standard procedure for cases of this magnitude. And when did you first become aware that Maxwell Industries might attempt to influence your ruling? 3 weeks into the preliminary hearings, I received a phone call from an unknown number. The caller offered me $500,000 to dismiss the case on procedural grounds. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Shaw waited for silence. What was your response? I told them I wasn't interested and reported the call to the FBI. What happened next? The threats started, anonymous letters, emails. Someone followed me home from work. My car was vandalized. And then someone cut my brake lines. The accident that nearly killed you. It wasn't an accident. It was attempted murder. Shaw nodded. Judge Winters, can you explain to the jury why Maxwell Industries wanted this case dismissed? Because the evidence against them is overwhelming. Internal documents show they knew their drilling operations were contaminating water supplies in 14 communities. They knew people were getting sick, and instead of stopping, they bribed local officials to look the other way and buried the reports. How many people were affected? Over 30,000, including children. The contamination has been linked to 17 deaths and hundreds of cases of severe illness. The courtroom was silent now. Even Blackwell wasn't smiling. Shaw continued. And despite the threats against your life, you refused to dismiss the case. Yes. Why? Rachel looked directly at the jury. Because those 30,000 people deserve justice. Because 17 families lost loved ones due to corporate greed. Because if I dismissed the case, Maxwell Industries would continue to poison communities and pay off officials and nothing would change. I became a judge to uphold the law, not to sell it to the highest bidder. Jack felt something tight in his chest. Pride, admiration. This woman had stared down death and refused to blink. Then it was Blackwell's turn. He stood slowly, adjusted his tie, walked toward Rachel like he had all the time in the world. Judge Winters, he said, you've painted quite a dramatic picture. Threats, assassination attempts, a heroic flight through a blizzard. It sounds like a movie, doesn't it? It sounds like the truth. Does it? Because I've looked at your phone records, Your Honor, and I don't see any record of this alleged bribe attempt. It was an unknown number, untraceable. How convenient. And these threatening letters, where are they? I submitted them to the FBI. But you don't have copies. No. And the vandalism to your car, did you file a police report? Yes. But nothing came of it, no arrests, no evidence. Because the police department was compromised. Blackwell raised an eyebrow. Compromised? You're saying the police were working for Maxwell Industries. I'm saying I didn't trust them. So, instead of going to the authorities, you ran. You crashed, your car walked into a blizzard and just happened to be found by a decorated veteran who just happened to be struggling financially. A man who, by your own admission, killed 3 people to protect you. Mr. Foster saved my life. Or Mr. Foster saw an opportunity. A wealthy federal judge who owed him everything. That's valuable leverage, isn't it? Objection, Shaw said. This is speculation. Sustained. Blackwell smiled. Let me ask you this, Judge Winters. How much money has been offered to Mr. Foster for his testimony? None. Really? Because my investigators found that Mr. Foster's medical debt has been mysteriously paid off. $50,000 gone. Care to explain that? Jack's blood ran cold. Rachel's face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about, Rachel said. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit 47. Bank records showing a payment of $50,000 to Clear Sky Medical Center where Mr. Foster's late wife received treatment. The payment was made 3 days after Mr. Foster agreed to testify. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel. Shaw was on her feet shouting objections. And Jack sat at the safe house staring at the screen in shock. I didn't take any money, Jack said. I didn't. Someone set you up, Briggs said. Maxwell Industries paid off your debt to make it look like you took a bribe. But I didn't know. I didn't agree to anything. Doesn't matter. The jury's going to hear that your debt was paid right after you testified. That's all Blackwell needs. On screen, the judge called for order. Shaw was arguing that the evidence was inadmissible, that there was no proof Jack knew about the payment, but the damage was done. The jury was looking at Rachel with suspicion now. Blackwell continued. Judge Winters, isn't it possible that you and Mr. Foster concocted this entire story, that you saw an opportunity to discredit Maxwell Industries and enlisted the help of a desperate man willing to do anything for money? That's not what happened. Then explain the payment. I can't. I don't know anything about it. How convenient. I'm telling the truth. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, Your Honor, it looks like you and Mr. Foster orchestrated an elaborate scheme. You stage a car crash, you hide in the woods, you claim assassination attempts that can't be verified. Mr. Foster kills 3 men and calls it self-defense, and then miraculously his debt disappears. That's not justice, Your Honor. That's fraud. Rachel's hands were shaking. I stood up to your client because they're murderers. They poisoned innocent people and tried to cover it up. And when I refused to help them, they tried to kill me. That's the truth. And no amount of lies from you is going to change it. No further questions. Rachel stepped down. She looked shaken, defeated. Jack wanted to punch through the monitor. We're done, Briggs said. That payment just destroyed your credibility and hers. I didn't take that money. I know, but proving it is going to be almost impossible. Then we prove it. We find out where the payment came from. We trace it back to Maxwell Industries. That could take weeks. Then we have weeks. The trial's not over. But Jack could see it in Briggs' face. The doubt, the worry. Maxwell Industries had just played their ace. Shaw called Jack an hour later. We need to talk. I didn't take that money. I believe you, but the jury doesn't. And unless we can prove where it came from, we're in trouble. So prove it. It's not that simple. The payment was made through a shell corporation, 3 layers deep. By the time we trace it back, the trial will be over. What about Rachel's testimony, the evidence? Strong, but Blackwell's planted doubt. He's made the jury question everything. And in a case like this, doubt is all the defense needs. Jack felt sick. So we lose. I didn't say that, but we need something more. Something that ties Maxwell Industries directly to the threats against Rachel. Something undeniable. Like what? I don't know, but we need it fast. Closing arguments are tomorrow. Jack hung up, paced the room. His mind was racing. There had to be something. Some piece of evidence they'd missed. Some way to prove Rachel was telling the truth. Then it hit him. The men who attacked us, Jack said. The 3 men I shot. Did anyone trace their financial records? Briggs looked up. What? If Maxwell Industries hired them, there's a paper trail. Payments? Contracts? Something. The FBI is already looking into it. Looking isn't enough. We need answers now. Briggs made a call, talked to someone for 10 minutes, then hung up. They found something. Wire transfers from a shell company owned by Maxwell Industries to an offshore account. The account belongs to a security firm that employed all 3 men. That's it. That's the proof. Maybe, but it's circumstantial. The defense will argue Maxwell Industries uses that security firm for legitimate purposes, that the payments weren't for a hit. But it's something. It's something. Shaw presented the evidence the next morning. Wire transfers, employment records, proof that the 3 men worked for a company funded by Maxwell Industries. The courtroom buzzed. The jury leaned forward. But Blackwell was ready. Your Honor, he said calmly, Maxwell Industries employs dozens of security firms across multiple states. These firms provide protection for executives' facilities and assets. The fact that 3 former employees of one of these firms acted independently does not implicate my client in any wrongdoing. Former employees, Shaw shot back. They were actively employed at the time of the attack. Employed by the security firm, not by Maxwell Industries directly. A security firm your client funds. Among many others, this proves nothing except that 3 men acted on their own and unfortunately paid the price. The judge looked tired. Counselors approach. They argued at the bench for 20 minutes. Then the judge made his ruling. The evidence will be admitted, but the jury will be instructed that it does not necessarily prove Maxwell Industries ordered the attack, only that a connection exists. It wasn't enough. Jack could see it in Shaw's face when she sat down. They'd wounded Maxwell Industries, but they hadn't killed them. Closing arguments started after lunch. Shaw went first. She was brilliant. She laid out the evidence piece by piece, the contaminated water, the covered-up reports, the bribes, the threats against Rachel, the attack on Jack. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," Shaw said, "this case is about power, about a corporation that believed it was above the law. Maxwell Industries poisoned 30,000 people. They bribed officials, and when Judge Winters refused to dismiss the case, they tried to kill her. They failed. Because of the courage of one man, Jack Foster, a mechanic, a father, an ordinary person who did something extraordinary. He saved a judge's life, and in doing so, he saved justice itself." It was powerful, moving. But then Blackwell stood up. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said quietly, "my colleague wants you to believe in heroes and villains. She wants you to believe that Maxwell Industries is evil and Judge Winters is a saint. But the truth is more complicated. Yes, there was contamination. Yes, mistakes were made. Maxwell Industries has already agreed to pay restitution. But attempted murder, a grand conspiracy. That's fiction. What we have here is a judge who made questionable decisions and a man who killed 3 people and called it heroism. The prosecution wants you to ignore the facts. They want you to be swayed by emotion, by dramatic stories of blizzards and car chases, but you're smarter than that. You're here to judge the evidence, and the evidence doesn't support their claims." When he sat down, the courtroom was silent. The judge gave his instructions. The jury filed out. And then there was nothing to do but wait. Jack waited at the safe house. Hours crawled by. Ella tried to distract him with odd card games, but he couldn't focus. His mind kept replaying the trial, the testimony, the evidence, the doubt in the jurors' eyes. At 7 p.m., Briggs's phone rang. He answered, listened, then looked at Jack. "They're coming back. Verdict's in." Jack's heart stopped. "Already? Quick verdicts usually favor the defense." "Meaning we lost. Meaning we're about to find out." They rushed to the courthouse. Jack sat in the gallery next to Shaw. Rachel sat at the mob prosecution table, her hands folded, her face unreadable. The jury filed in. None of them looked at Rachel. That was a bad sign. The judge spoke. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" The foreman stood. "We have, Your Honor." "On the charge of criminal negligence resulting in death, how do you find Hawk guilty?" A collective gasp. Jack felt relief flood through him. "On the charge of bribery and corruption of public officials, how do you find guilty?" Rachel closed her eyes. Tears streamed down her face. The verdicts continued. Guilty, 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 on every charge. When it was over, the courtroom erupted. Reporters rushed for the doors. Cameras flashed. The Maxwell executives sat frozen, their faces pale. Shaw turned to Jack. "We won." "Yeah, we won." But Jack didn't feel victorious. He felt exhausted, hollowed out, like he'd run a marathon and barely crossed the finish line. Rachel was surrounded by people, lawyers, marshals, reporters pushing close. Jack watched from a distance. Then she looked up and saw him. Their eyes met across the crowded courtroom. Rachel mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." Jack nodded. Outside, the news crews were going crazy. Jack slipped out a side door with Briggs. They drove back to the safe house in silence. Ella ran to him when he walked in. "Did you win?" "Yeah, baby, we won." "Does that mean it's over?" Jack looked at Briggs. The marshal shrugged. "Sentencing is in 2 weeks. Until then, you're still under protective custody. After that, you're free to go home." "What about Rachel?" "Judge Winters will remain in protective custody until the appeals process is complete. Could be months." "So, I don't get to see her?" "Not for a while." Jack nodded. He shouldn't care. Rachel was safe. The bad guys lost. Justice won. That should be enough. But it wasn't. That night, Jack lay in bed thinking about Rachel's face when the verdicts were read, the relief, the exhaustion, the loneliness. She'd fought so hard, risked everything, and now she was trapped in protective custody with no one to share the victory with. At midnight, Jack's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then he did. "Jack." It was Rachel. "How'd you get this number?" "Briggs helped me. I needed to hear your voice." "You okay?" "No." "Yes, I don't know." Rachel's voice cracked. "We won, Jack. We actually won." "You won. You're the one who stood up to them." "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yeah, you could have." No, I was ready to give up. That night in the blizzard, I was done. And then you found me. You brought me back, and you kept bringing me back every time I wanted to quit. Jack didn't know what to say. I'm scared, Rachel continued. The trial's over, but I'm still trapped, still hiding. And I keep thinking about your house, about Ella, about the piano, about feeling normal for 3 days. You'll get back to normal. Will I? Because I don't know what normal is anymore. Then we figure it out. Together. Together. Yeah, when this is all over, you come back to Millfield. You finish teaching Ella that song, and we figure out what normal looks like. Rachel was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I'd like that. Me too. Jack? Yeah. I think I might be falling for you. Jack's breath caught. Rachel. I know, it's too fast, too complicated, but I needed to say it because if something happens to me during these appeals, I wanted you to know. Nothing's going to happen to you. You can't promise that. Watch me. Rachel laughed softly. You're impossible. So I've been told. They talked for another hour. About nothing. About everything. And when Jack finally hung up, he felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. The morning after Rachel's phone call, Jack woke up to Briggs shaking his shoulder. Get up. We have a problem. Jack sat up fast, his heart already racing. What happened? Maxwell Industries posted bail for 2 of their executives. They're out. And our sources say they're not happy about the verdict. What does that mean for us? It means protective custody just got extended. Indefinitely. Jack swore. How long is indefinitely? Until the appeals process is complete and sentencing happens. Could be 3 months, could be 6. I can't stay here for 6 months. Ella needs to go back to school. I need to work. We have a life. And you'll have it back. But right now, Maxwell Industries is bleeding. They're desperate. And desperate people do stupid things. Jack found Ella in the kitchen making cereal. She looked up when he walked in. We're not going home yet, are we? Not yet? I heard Uncle Briggs. He said 6 months. Maybe not that long. But maybe. Ella's voice was flat. So we just stay here forever. In this house with guards outside while everyone else gets to live normal lives. Ella. It's not fair, Dad. Rachel got what she wanted. The bad guys went to jail, but we're still trapped. Jack didn't have an answer for that because she was right. 3 days later, Shaw called with news. Maxwell Industries is trying to negotiate a plea deal. They want to avoid prison time for the executives in exchange for paying larger restitution. Absolutely not, Jack said. Those people tried to kill Rachel. They poisoned 30,000 people. They don't get to buy their way out. I agree, but the decision isn't mine. It's up to the judge and the prosecution team. And there's pressure from above to settle. What kind of pressure? The political kind. Maxwell Industries has friends in high places. Senators, congressmen, people who don't want a long, drawn-out appeals process exposing how deep the corruption goes. So they're going to get away with it. I didn't say that, but it's going to be a fight. Jack hung up and immediately called Rachel. She answered on the first ring. I heard, she said. Shaw called me an hour ago. This is insane. We can't let them do this. I'm not letting them do anything. I've already contacted the Attorney General's office. If they try to offer a plea deal, I'm going public. I'll hold a press conference and tell the world exactly what Maxwell Industries did. They'll come after you again. Let them try. I'm done hiding Jack. I stood up to them once. I can do it again. Not alone. I won't be alone. I'll have you. Jack felt something warm spread through his chest. Yeah, you will. A week later, the plea deal was rejected. The Attorney General's office released a statement saying that corporate executives who endanger public safety must face the full consequences of their actions. No deals, no negotiations. Rachel's press conference aired on every major network. She stood at a podium in a federal building in Denver, surrounded by lawyers and FBI agents, and told her story. The threats, the assassination attempt, the 3 men who tried to kill her and Jack. Maxwell Industries thought they could silence me, Rachel said, her voice steady and strong. They were wrong, and they'll be wrong every time they try to silence anyone who stands up for what's right. Justice cannot be bought, it cannot be intimidated, and it will not be denied. Jack watched from the safe house with Ella beside him. When it was over, Ella said, "She's really brave." Yeah, she is. Do you love her? Jack looked at his daughter. I don't know, maybe. It's complicated. Why is it complicated? Because I loved your mom, and I don't know if I'm allowed to love someone else. Ella took his hand. Dad, Mom would want you to be happy. She told me that, right before she died. She said that if something happened to her, you had to promise to be happy again. Jack's throat tightened. She said that, yeah, and she made me promise too. She said we both had to keep living, keep loving, keep being a family. Ella's eyes filled with tears. I miss her every day, but Dad, you've been sad for so long. And when Rachel was here, you weren't sad. Not really, you were alive again. Jack pulled his daughter close. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just weren't paying attention. 2 weeks later, Briggs brought more news. Maxwell Industries executives are being sentenced tomorrow. All of them. The judge is expected to hand down maximum sentences. How long? 20 to 30 years each. Jack felt satisfaction wash over him. Good. After sentencing, protective custody ends. You're free to go home. What about Rachel? Judge Winters is being offered a position on the Federal Appeals Court. Promotion, more security. She'll be in Denver. Denver's 4 hours away. I know. Jack didn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about Rachel in Denver, about going home to Millfield without her, about how empty the house would feel again. The next morning, Jack watched the sentencing on the monitor. The Maxwell Industries executives sat in a row, their expensive suits, unable to hide their fear. The judge was the same older man with white hair who'd presided over the trial. You poisoned communities, the judge said, his voice hard. You bribed officials. You attempted to murder a federal judge. You represent everything wrong with corporate America, the belief that money and power place you above the law. Today, this court proves you wrong. The sentences came down hard. 25 years. 30 years. No parole. One executive broke down crying. Another sat stone-faced. Jack felt no sympathy for any of them. When it was over, Briggs walked into the room. That's it. You're free to go. I'll drive you and Ella back to Millfield this afternoon. Can I see Rachel first? She's at a secure location. I can ask. An hour later, Jack stood in a conference room in the federal building. Rachel walked in wearing jeans and a sweater, her hair down, looking more like the woman who'd played piano in his living room than the federal judge who'd just taken down $1 billion corporation. Hi, she said. Hi. They stood there for a moment just looking at each other. Then Rachel closed the distance and hugged him. Jack held her tight, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. I heard about Denver's, Jack said. Yeah, Federal Appeals Court. It's a big deal. You deserve it. Maybe, but it means leaving Montana, leaving Millfield, leaving you and Ella. Denver's only 4 hours away. That's not the same as being there. Jack pulled back to look at her. What do you want, Rachel? Honestly, I want to come back to Millfield. I want to finish teaching Ella that song. I want to have dinner at your table and fix things that are broken and feel normal again. So do it. I can't. The appeals court position starts in 3 weeks, and after everything that's happened, I can't turn it down. It's too important. Then we'll visit. Ella and me. We'll drive to Denver on weekends. Jack, you have a life in Millfield. A job. Ella has school. You can't spend every weekend driving 4 hours. Watch me. Rachel smiled sadly. You're impossible. So you keep saying. She touched his face. I meant what I said on the phone. I'm falling for you. Maybe I already fell. I don't know. But I do know that leaving you feels wrong. Then don't leave. I have to. Why? Because I'm not done fighting. Maxwell Industries might be finished, but there are 100 more like them. Corporations that think they can poison people and bribe officials and get away with it. Someone has to stop them. And if I can do that from the appeals court, then I have to try. Jack understood. He didn't like it, but he understood. Okay, you go to Denver. You fight the good fight. But Rachel, don't shut us out. Don't disappear. I won't. Promise? I promise. They kissed. It was soft and brief and tasted like goodbye. Then Rachel left and Jack stood alone in the conference room, feeling like he'd just lost something he barely had time to find. Briggs drove Jack and Ella back to Millfield that afternoon. The town looked exactly the same. The auto shop, the diner. the little houses with their snow-covered yards, but Jack felt different, like he'd gone to war and come back changed. Ella ran into the house first. "Everything's still here," Jack followed her in. The piano sat in the corner silent, the kitchen where Rachel had cooked breakfast, the couch where he'd saved her life. Every room held a memory. "It feels empty," Ella said quietly. "Yeah, it does." That night, Jack's phone rang. It was Shaw. "Mr. Foster, I wanted to give you a heads up. The story's going national. Every news network wants to interview you. You're being called a hero." "I'm not a hero." "The country disagrees. You're a single father who risked everything to save a federal judge. That resonates with people." "I don't want to be on TV." "I understand. But Jack, this is bigger than you now. Your story gives people hope. In a world where the powerful usually win, you prove that ordinary people can make a difference." "I just did what was right." "Exactly, and that's why people need to hear it." Jack hung up feeling overwhelmed. He didn't want to be famous. He didn't want interviews and cameras and reporters asking him to relive the worst moments of his life. But 2 days later, an envelope arrived. No return address. Inside was a letter on official congressional letterwork. "Dear Mr. Foster," it read, "on behalf of the United States Congress, I would like to invite you to testify at a hearing on corporate accountability. Your actions in protecting Judge Winters and exposing Maxwell Industries represent the courage and integrity this nation needs. We hope you'll share your story." The letter was signed by a senator Jack had never heard of. "Are you going to do it?" Ella asked, reading over his shoulder. "I don't know." "You should. Rachel would want you to." "Rachel's in Denver." "So call her." Jack called her. Rachel answered immediately. "Did you get a letter from Congress?" Jack asked. "How did you know?" "Because I got one too." "Are you going?" "Are you?" Rachel laughed. "I asked first." "I don't want to, but I think I have to." "Me too." "When's your hearing?" 3 weeks, Washington, D.C. "Mine too. Same day." "Then I guess we're going to Washington." 3 weeks later, Jack stood in a hotel room in D.C. trying to tie his tie. Ella sat on the bed watching him struggle. "You look nervous," she said. "I am nervous." "Why? You already testified once." "That was different. That was a courtroom. This is Congress." So Congress matters. What I say might actually change things." "Then say something good." Jack smiled. "Thanks for the advice." Briggs knocked on the door. "Car's here? You ready?" "No, but let's go anyway." The Capitol building was massive, white marble and tall columns and hundreds of people moving with purpose. Briggs led Jack through security and down long hallways to a hearing room. Rachel was already there. She wore a dark suit and looked composed, but Jack saw the tension in her shoulders. When she saw him, her face relaxed. "You made it," she said. "Barely. I hate ties." "You look good." "Liar." Rachel laughed. Then the doors opened and a staffer called them in. The hearing room was packed. Senators sat at a raised bench. Cameras lined the walls. Every seat was filled. Jack felt his stomach drop. "Just breathe," Rachel whispered. "Tell the truth. That's all they want." Jack nodded. He sat at the witness table next to Rachel. A senator with gray hair and kind eyes leaned forward. "Mr. Foster, Judge Winters, thank you for being here. This hearing is about corporate accountability and the protection of public servants. Mr. Foster, let's start with you. Can you tell us what happened the night you found Judge Winters?" Jack took a breath and started talking. He told them everything. The blizzard, finding Rachel, bringing her home, learning the truth, the drive to Billings, the shooting. He didn't hold back, didn't soften it. He told them exactly what Maxwell Industries had done and how close they'd come to getting away with it. When he finished, the room was silent. Then one senator said, "Mr. Foster, why did you help her? You had every reason to walk away to protect yourself and your daughter. Why didn't you?" Jack thought about it. "Because someone had to. Rachel stood up for 30,000 people who'd been poisoned. She risked her life for justice. And if I'd walked away, those people at Maxwell Industries would have won. They would have killed her and buried the evidence and kept poisoning communities. I couldn't let that happen. Even though it put your daughter at risk." "My daughter watched her mother die from cancer. She knows that bad things happen to good people. But she also needed to see that good people fight back. that courage matters, that doing the right thing is worth the cost. Jack's voice strengthened. I want Ella to grow up in a world where justice means something, where corporations can't buy their way out of murder, where ordinary people can make a difference. And the only way that world exists is if people like me stand up when it matters. The senator nodded slowly. Thank you, Mr. Foster. Then it was Rachel's turn. She spoke about the case, about the contamination, about the families who lost loved ones, about the officials who were bribed, about the system that let Maxwell Industries operate for years without consequences. But most importantly, Rachel said, I want to talk about Jack Foster. When I was dying in that snow, I'd given up. I thought I'd fought as hard as I could, and it wasn't enough. And then Jack found me. He brought me back to life. Not just physically, he reminded me why I became a judge, why justice matters, why we can't give up even when the odds are impossible. She turned to look at Jack. He represents what's best about this country. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things not for fame or money, but because it's right. If we want to hold corporations accountable, if we want to protect whistleblowers and judges and anyone who stands up to power, we need to support people like Jack. We need to show them that courage is rewarded, that heroism isn't punished, that doing the right thing matters. The hearing lasted 3 hours. When it was over, reporters swarmed them. Questions came from every direction. Jack kept his head down and let Briggs lead him out. In the car, Ella hugged him. You were amazing, Dad. I just told the truth. That's what made it amazing. That night, Jack's face was on every news channel. Single father saves federal judge. Hero mechanic takes down corporate giant. Montana man's courage inspires nation. Jack turned off the TV. I don't want to watch this. You should, Rachel said. She'd come to their hotel room after the hearing, and now she sat on the couch next to Ella. People need heroes, Jack. Real ones. Not movie stars or athletes. People like you who do the right thing, even when it's hard. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy who couldn't walk away. That's exactly what a hero is. A week after they returned to Millfield, another envelope arrived. This one was from the Department of Transportation. Dear Mr. Foster, it read, we are pleased to offer you a position as Regional Infrastructure Coordinator. Your role would involve overseeing the repair and maintenance of state roads and bridges across Montana. Salary $85,000 per year plus benefits. Jack stared at the letter. $85,000, more money than he'd ever made as a mechanic. Real benefits. Job security. Dad, this is amazing, Ella said. You have to take it. It means traveling, being away from home. So you've been away before. Not like this. This is a real job, a career. Exactly. Dad, you've been fixing cars for 15 years. This is your chance to do something bigger. Jack looked at the letter again. It felt like a gift, like the universe saying thank you for doing the right thing, but it also felt like too much, like he didn't deserve it. He called Rachel. Did you have anything to do with this? With what? Well, the job offer. Department of Transportation. Jack, I'm a federal judge, not the Secretary of Transportation. I didn't pull any strings. Then how? Maybe someone noticed you. Maybe someone decided that a man who risked his life for justice deserves a chance at a better life. Maybe you earned it. I don't feel like I earned it. That's because you're humble. But Jack, you did earn it. You saved my life. You exposed Maxwell Industries. You testified before Congress. You inspired a nation. If anyone deserves this, it's you. Jack took the job. 2 weeks later, he started work. The office was in Billings 3 days a week. The other 2 days, he could work from home, overseeing projects and coordinating with contractors. It was challenging, different, but Jack found he was good at it. And for the first time in 2 years, he wasn't struggling. The paychecks were steady, the bills were paid, he could breathe. Then, 1 month after starting the job, another envelope arrived. This one was addressed to Ella. Dear Miss Foster, it read, congratulations, you have been awarded a full scholarship to the Denver Music Conservatory's youth program. This includes tuition instrument rental and private lessons with master instructors. We look forward to welcoming you this fall. Ella screamed, actual screaming. Dad, I got a scholarship, a full scholarship. Jack read the letter. I didn't know you applied. I didn't. Then how? Ella's eyes went wide. Rachel, Jack called her immediately. Did you do this? Do what? The scholarship, for Ella. Rachel was quiet for a moment. I may have made a recommendation. The conservatory is connected to the appeals court. They asked if I knew any talented young musicians. I mentioned Ella. Rachel. She's gifted Jack. You know she is, and she deserves a chance to develop that gift. We can't afford Denver. The conservatory's there. She'd have to move. It's a weekend program. She'd stay in Millfield during the week, come to Denver on weekends for lessons. That's 4 hours each way. I know, but Jack, this is her future, her dream. And maybe while she's in Denver taking lessons, you could visit. We could have dinner. We could figure out what this is between us. Jack's heart was pounding. You want us to come to Denver? I want you in my life, Jack. Both of you. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I know I don't want to do this alone anymore. Rachel. Just think about it, please. Jack thought about it. He thought about Ella learning piano from master instructors. He thought about driving to Denver every weekend. He thought about Rachel waiting there. He thought about being happy again. Okay, Jack said. We'll do it. Really? Rachel's laugh was bright with joy. When can you visit? Wow, this weekend. I'll be waiting. That Friday, Jack and Ella drove to Denver. 4 hours through mountains and valleys, the truck's engine humming steadily. Ella practiced piano pieces in her head, her fingers moving on invisible keys. Jack thought about Rachel. They arrived at 6 p.m. Rachel lived in a small house near the courthouse. When she opened the door, she was smiling. You came. We promised. Rachel hugged Ella first. I can't wait to hear you play. I'm nervous. Don't be. You're going to be amazing. Then Rachel looked at Jack, and without a word, he pulled her close and kissed her. Not goodbye this time. Hello. That night they had dinner at Rachel's table. Rachel cooked pasta and Ella talked non-stop about the conservatory and what she wanted to learn. Jack watched them together and felt something shift inside him. This was what healing looked like. Not forgetting Sarah. Not replacing her, but making space for new love, new joy, new life. After Ella went to bed in Rachel's guest room, Jack and Rachel sat on the couch. This is strange, Rachel said. What is being happy? I spent so long fighting and hiding and surviving. I forgot what it felt like to just be happy. Me too. Rachel took his hand. I love you, Jack Foster. The words hit him like sunlight, warm, unexpected, perfect. I love you too, Jack said. And he meant it. They sat together in the quiet house, two people who'd saved each other in more ways than one, and for the first time in years, neither of them felt alone. The weekends in Denver became their routine. Every Friday after Ella got out of school, Jack would load up the truck and they'd drive 4 hours through the mountains. Rachel would be waiting on her porch, and for 2 days they'd pretend they were a normal family. But 6 weeks in, Ella came out of her first piano lesson at the conservatory crying. What happened? Jack asked, immediately on alert. Nothing bad. Ella wiped her eyes. Professor Chen said I have real talent, like real talent. She said if I work hard, I could perform professionally someday. Rachel put her arm around Ella. That's wonderful news. But she also said I'm years behind where I should be. That if I'd started training earlier, I'd be at a completely different level. Ella's voice cracked. I wasted so much time, Dad. After Mom died, I stopped playing, and now I'm so far behind. Jack knelt in front of his daughter. You didn't waste anything. You were grieving. You were surviving. And now you're ready to play again. That's not wasted time. That's healing. But what if it's too late? It's never too late to do something you love. Professor Chen appeared in the doorway. She was a small woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and an even sharper voice. Miss Foster, a word, please. Ella looked terrified. Rachel squeezed her hand. Go on. We'll be right here. They watched Ella walk back inside. Jack started to follow, but Rachel stopped him. Let her handle it. She needs to learn to face difficult conversations. She's 12. And she's stronger than you think. 20 minutes later, Ella emerged. Her face was red, but she was smiling. Professor Chen wants me to perform at the winter recital. It's in 6 weeks. She said it'll be hard, but she thinks I can do it. That's amazing, Rachel said. But I have to practice 2 hours every day, and I have to learn a really difficult piece, and if I mess up, everyone will see. Jack saw the fear in his daughter's eyes, the same fear he'd felt testifying in court, the fear of being seen, of failing publicly. Do you want to do it? Jack asked. Ella nodded. Yeah, I really do. Then we'll make it work, whatever you need. What Ella needed was time. Time to practice. Time to learn. Time to fail and try again. Jack rearranged his work schedule so he could work from home more often. Rachel started coming to Millfield on weeknights, bringing dinner and sitting with Ella while she practiced. One night, 2 weeks before the recital, Ella threw her sheet music across the room. I can't do it. This piece is impossible. Rachel picked up the music. What's the hardest part? All of it, but especially measures 30 through 40. My hands won't do what my brain tells them to. Show me. Ella sat back down at the piano and played. Her hands stumbled over the complex runs. She hit wrong notes, lost the tempo. When she finished, she was crying again. See, impossible. Rachel sat down beside her on the bench. When I was in law school, I had a professor who told me I'd never make it as a trial lawyer. Said I was too emotional, too soft, that I'd crumble under pressure. What did you do? I practiced every single day. I stood in front of a mirror and argued cases to myself. I recorded my voice and listened to find the weaknesses. And you know what I discovered? What? Being emotional wasn't a weakness, it was my strength. It made me connect with juries, made them care about my clients, but I had to learn to control it, to use it instead of letting it use me. Ella wiped her eyes. What does that have to do with piano? You're not struggling with the notes. You're struggling with fear. Fear that you'll mess up. Fear that people will judge you. But Ella, the only way past that fear is through it. So let's practice, just you and me. And every time you make a mistake, we'll stop and fix it. No judgment, no pressure. Just learning. They practiced for 2 hours. Rachel didn't know much about piano, but she knew about patience, about breaking big problems into small pieces, about celebrating tiny victories. By the end of the night, Ella could play measures 30 through 40 without mistakes. I did it, Ella whispered. You did it, Rachel confirmed. Jack watched from the doorway, his heart full. This woman who'd stumbled into their lives 6 months ago had become part of their family. She showed up, she helped, she cared. Later that night, after Ella was asleep, Jack and Rachel sat in the kitchen drinking tea. Thank you, Jack said, for tonight, for all of this. You don't have to thank me. I love her, Jack. I love both of you. I know, but it still means something. Rachel was quiet for a moment. I've been thinking about something. What? Moving back to Millfield. Jack's heart jumped. What about the appeals court? I can do most of my work remotely. Come to Denver for oral arguments and important hearings, but Jack, I don't want to live 4 hours away anymore. I want to be here, with you and Ella, every day, not just weekends. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Jack kissed her, long and deep and full of promise. When, after Ella's recital, I want to be there for that, and then I want to come home. Home, Jack repeated. The word felt right. The night of the recital arrived too fast. Jack wore his suit again. Rachel wore a dark blue dress. Ella was backstage in a black concert dress that Rachel had bought for her pacing and practicing finger positions in the air. You're going to be great, Jack told her before the performance started. What if I mess up? Then you keep playing. Nobody's perfect, baby. They just want to hear you try. The auditorium was packed. Parents and students and faculty filled every seat. Jack and Rachel sat in the front row. His palms were sweating more than when he'd testified before Congress. 12 students performed before Ella. Some were brilliant. Some made mistakes. All of them received applause. Then the announcer called Ella's name. She walked onto the stage. So small under the lights. She sat at the piano, adjusted the bench, and placed her hands on the keys. For a moment, nothing happened. Jack held his breath. Then Ella began to play. The piece was beautiful, complex, emotional. Her hands moved across the keys with growing confidence. She hit every note in the difficult section, the section they'd practiced for hours. Jack felt tears on his cheeks. Then 3/4 through the piece, Ella stumbled. Hit a wrong note. Her hands faltered. Jack's heart stopped. But Ella didn't stop. She took a breath, found her place, and kept playing. When she finished, the audience erupted. Standing ovation. Everyone on their feet. Professor Chen was smiling in the wings. Ella stood and bowed. When she walked off stage, she was crying, but they were happy tears. Backstage, Jack caught her in a hug. You were perfect. I made a mistake. You recovered. That's what matters. You kept going. Rachel hugged her next. I am so proud of you. I was so scared. Being scared doesn't mean you're not brave. It means you did something brave despite the fear. Professor Chen approached. Miss Foster, excellent work. You have a gift. And more importantly, you have determination. That will take you far. Ella beamed. That night, they celebrated at a restaurant in Denver. Ella couldn't stop talking about the performance, about the other students, about what Professor Chen said about next year's program. I want to keep doing this, Ella said. Music, piano, all of it. Then you will, Jack said. Even though it's hard. Especially because it's hard. The things worth doing usually are. 2 weeks later, Rachel moved back to Millfield. She bought a small house 3 blocks from Jack's. Close enough to be together, but far enough that Ella could adjust to the changes at her own pace. Why don't you just move in with us? Ella asked when she heard the news. Jack and Rachel exchanged glances. They'd talked about it. Decided to take things slow. Because we want to do this right, Rachel said. Your dad and I love each other, but we also want to make sure you're comfortable with everything. I'm comfortable. I want you here. I am here, just a few blocks away, and I'll be at your house all the time, but having my own space means you and your dad still have your space too. Ella thought about it. Okay, but you're coming to dinner every night, right? Every night I can. Rachel kept her promise. Most nights she showed up at 6 p.m. with groceries or takeout. She helped Ella with homework. She and Jack cooked together. They watched movies, played board games, became a family in all the ways that mattered. 3 months after the recital, Jack's phone rang. It was a producer from a major news network. Mr. Foster, we're doing a special on ordinary heroes. People who made a difference. We'd love to feature your story. I've already done interviews. Not like this. We want to follow you for a week. Show your life. Show what happened after the trial. Show how one act of courage changed everything. Jack almost said no, but then he thought about what Rachel had said. People need heroes. Real ones. Okay, but my daughter and Rachel have to approve. Of course. The film crew arrived a week later. They followed Jack to work, filmed him inspecting bridges and coordinating with construction teams. They interviewed his co-workers who talked about how dedicated he was, how he'd turned a government job into something meaningful. They filmed Ella at piano practice, interviewed Professor Chen, who called Ella one of the most promising young musicians I've taught in 30 years. And they filmed Rachel, in her home office reviewing case files, at the courthouse arguing an appeal, and at Jack's house cooking dinner with Ella while Jack told terrible jokes that made them both laugh. The producer interviewed Rachel on camera. How did Jack Foster change your life? Rachel looked directly at the camera. He saved my life, literally, but more than that, he reminded me why I do this work. Why justice matters. I'd been a judge for 10 years, and somewhere along the way, I forgot that I was making decisions about real people. Real lives. Jack brought that humanity back. He showed me that ordinary people doing the right thing can change the world. And now you're together. Now we're together. Jack and Ella gave me a family when I thought I'd always be alone. They gave me hope. They gave me home. Do you think you'll get married? Rachel smiled. That's between me and Jack. The documentary aired 2 months later. The Man Who Saved Justice was the title. It featured Jack's story from the beginning. Finding Rachel in the snow, the drive to Billings, the shooting, the trial, the congressional hearing, and the aftermath. It showed Jack at work making real changes to Montana's infrastructure. It showed Ella performing at another recital. It showed Rachel ruling on an important case about corporate environmental violations. And it showed them together, eating dinner, laughing, being a family. The documentary ended with Jack's voice over footage of him and Ella and Rachel walking through Millfield. People ask me if I regret helping Rachel, Jack said. If I regret putting myself and my daughter in danger, the answer is no. Because that night in the snow, I had a choice. Walk away and stay safe, or stop and maybe save someone. I stopped. And yeah, it was dangerous. Yeah, it was scary, but it was also the right thing to do. And that matters. Doing the right thing always matters. The documentary won awards. Jack's face was recognized everywhere. People stopped him in grocery stores to shake his hand, to thank him, to tell him their own stories of standing up for what's right. But the biggest change came 6 months after the documentary aired. Jack was at work when his boss called him into the office. "Jack, I got a call from the governor. She wants to meet with you." "Why, didn't say, but when the governor asks for a meeting, you take it." 3 days later, Jack drove to the state capitol. He was led to a conference room where Montana's governor sat with several advisors. "Mr. Foster," the governor said, shaking his hand, "thank you for coming. I'll get right to it. We're creating a new state agency, the Office of Public Accountability. Its job is to investigate corporate misconduct and protect whistleblowers. We want you to run it." Jack blinked. "I'm a mechanic." "You're a man who exposed one of the biggest corporate scandals in state history. You're someone people trust. Someone who understands that ordinary citizens need protection from powerful interests. That's exactly who should run this office." "I don't have a law degree." "You'll have a team of lawyers. What we need is someone with integrity, someone who won't be bought or intimidated, someone who's already proven they'll fight for what's right." The governor leaned forward. "This office will have real power, Mr. Foster. Real budget, real authority. You could help hundreds of people, thousands. You could make sure what happened with Maxwell Industries never happens again." Jack thought about it, about the 30,000 people Maxwell had poisoned, about how many more might be out there suffering because some corporation decided profits mattered more than lives. "Can I think about it?" "Take a week, but Jack, this is a chance to turn everything you went through into something bigger, something lasting." Jack talked to Rachel that night. They sat on her porch drinking coffee while Ella practiced piano inside. "What do you think?" Jack asked. "I think it's an incredible opportunity." "But it's government work. Politics, bureaucracy, that's not me." "Isn't it, Jack, you testified before Congress? You exposed corruption. You fought back against a billion-dollar corporation. This is exactly you." "What about Ella? This job would mean more travel, more time away." "Ella's thriving. She has piano, she has school, she has me here now. And Jack, she needs to see you doing meaningful work. Work that matters. That's the best example you can give her." "I'm scared I'll mess it up." "You won't. And even if you make mistakes, you'll learn from them. That's what you do. You don't give up. You keep fighting." Jack took the job. The Office of Public Accountability opened 6 months later in a building in Helena. Jack hired investigators, lawyers, and support staff. They set up hotlines for whistleblowers, created protections for people who reported corporate misconduct, launched investigations into companies across the state. Within the first year, they shut down 2 factories illegally dumping waste, fined 3 corporations for labor violations, protected 17 whistleblowers from retaliation. Jack's face was in the news constantly, but this time it wasn't about him. It was about the people they were helping. One day, a woman came to his office. She was in her 40s, with tired eyes and nervous hands. "Mr. Foster, I work at a medical supply company. They've been shipping defective equipment to hospitals. Equipment that could kill people. I reported it to my supervisor and they fired me, said I was a troublemaker." Jack listened to her story, took notes. Then he looked her in the eye and said, "We'll investigate, and we'll protect you. That's what we do here." 2 months later, the medical supply company was shut down. The woman got her job back with back pay, and lives were saved because someone had been brave enough to speak up. That night, Jack came home exhausted but satisfied. Rachel was already there cooking dinner with Ella. "Hard day?" Rachel asked. "Good day. We helped someone. That's all that matters." They ate dinner together. Ella talked about an upcoming piano competition. Rachel talked about a case she was working on. Jack talked about the investigations they were running. After Ella went to bed, Jack and Rachel sat on the porch like they did most nights. "I've been thinking," Rachel said, "about what? About us, about this life we've built. And I think we should make it official." Jack's heart jumped. "Official how?" Rachel reached into her pocket and pulled out a small box. "I know traditionally the man is supposed to do this, but I'm not a traditional woman. Jack Foster, will you marry me?" Jack stared at the ring, at Rachel, at this woman who'd crashed into his life during a blizzard and changed everything. "Yes," he said. "Absolutely yes." Rachel slipped the ring on his finger. They kissed. And somewhere inside the piano, music drifted out through the open window as Ella practiced her hands moving confidently across the keys. They got married 3 months later. Small ceremony? Just family and close friends. Ella was the maid of honor. Briggs was the best man. Marie cried through the entire ceremony. When Jack and Rachel exchanged vows, Jack said, "You saved me. Not just that night when I pulled you from the snow. Every day since. You gave me purpose. You gave me love. You gave me a reason to be brave." Rachel said, "You showed me what courage looks like. Not just once, but every single day. You choose to be good even when it's hard. You choose to fight even when it's scary. You choose love even after loss. That's the kind of person I want to spend my life with." Ella read a poem she'd written about family, about second chances, about how sometimes the worst storms bring the best things. When it was over, they danced. Rachel and Jack, Ella and Briggs, Marie and half the town of Millfield that had shown up uninvited because that's what small towns do. Late in the night, Jack found himself standing outside watching the stars. The same stars that had been out the night he found Rachel. The night everything changed. "You okay?" Rachel asked, joining him. "Yeah, just thinking." "About what?" "About how strange life is. 2 years ago, I was barely surviving, working 14-hour days, grieving, trying to keep Ella from falling apart. And now look at us. I have a job I love. Ella's thriving. We're married. We're happy. All because you stopped your truck. All because I stopped my truck." Rachel took his hand. "I think Sarah would be proud of you." Jack felt tears prick his eyes. "Yeah, I think she would be. Not just for saving me, but for letting yourself be happy again. For showing Ella that life goes on. That love doesn't end. It just grows in new directions. I still miss her." "I know, and that's okay. You can miss her and love me. Hearts don't work in fixed sizes. They expand to hold what we need them to hold." Jack pulled Rachel close. "How did you get so wise?" "I almost froze to death in a Montana blizzard. That kind of thing gives you perspective." They laughed, and in that moment, standing under the stars with his wife beside him and his daughter sleeping safely inside Jack Foster, felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. 5 years later, Jack stood in the audience at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Ella was 21 now, performing with a professional orchestra, her first major concert. The piece was complex and beautiful, and she played it flawlessly. Rachel sat beside him, her hand in his. They'd been married 5 years, built a life together, had fights and makeups and quiet moments and loud celebrations. They'd grown old together in the best possible way. When Ella finished playing, the audience rose as one. The applause was deafening. Ella stood and bowed, and when her eyes found Jack's in the audience, she smiled. After the concert, they met her backstage. Ella was glowing. "You were incredible," Jack said, hugging her tight. "Professor Chen was right. All those years ago, I did have talent. I just needed to work for it. You've worked harder than anyone I know. I learned from the best." They went to dinner at a fancy restaurant. Ella talked about the orchestra's upcoming tour. Europe, Asia, Australia. She'd be gone for months. "Are you scared?" Rachel asked. "Terrified, but also excited. I mean, this is what I've dreamed about since I was 12. Since that first recital when I messed up and kept playing anyway." "That's when I knew," Jack said. "That night, when you didn't stop, that's when I knew you'd be okay. Because you learned the most important lesson. You learned to keep going even when you're scared. You taught me that, Dad. You and Rachel. You both showed me what courage looks like." And that night, lying in their hotel room, Rachel said, "We did good. We did. With Ella, she's amazing, strong, talented, kind. We raised her well. You helped raise her. She wasn't your responsibility, but you loved her anyway." "She was always my responsibility. From the moment I walked into your house and saw her watching me with those big, scared eyes. I knew I wanted to protect her, to help her, to be part of her life." Jack kissed his wife. "I love you. I love you too." The next morning, they flew back to Montana, to Millfield, to the house they'd bought together 3 years ago. The one with the big porch and the old piano in the living room. The one that felt like home. Jack went back to work running the Office of Public Accountability. They'd helped over 3,000 people in 5 years, shut down dozens of corrupt operations, changed state laws, made a real difference. Rachel went back to the appeals court. She'd just been appointed to head a federal task force on corporate accountability. The same issue that had almost gotten her killed was now her life's work. And every evening they came home to each other, cooked dinner together, talked about their days, made plans for the future. One night, Jack stood on the porch watching snowfall, the first snow of the season. It reminded him of that night, the night he'd found Rachel, the night everything changed. Rachel joined him. "What are you thinking about? About how one decision changed my entire life. I could have driven past her, convinced myself it was just a deer or a log, kept going home to my warm bed, and everything would be different. But you didn't." "No, I didn't. And now look at us, we're happy. Ella's thriving, we're making a difference. All because I stopped the truck." Rachel leaned against him. "You know what I think about sometimes?" "What?" "How many people drive past? How many times we see someone in trouble and convince ourselves it's not our problem. It's someone else's responsibility. But Jack, you didn't do that. You saw someone dying and you stopped. You risked everything, and yes, it worked out for us. But what about all the times it doesn't? What about all the people who stop and help and end up hurt or dead or worse off than before?" "I don't know, but I think you still have to stop. You still have to try, because the alternative is a world where nobody helps anyone, where we all just drive past each other's pain. And I don't want to live in that world." "Neither do I." They stood together in the falling snow, two people who'd saved each other, who'd built a life from the wreckage of attempted murder and corporate corruption and personal tragedy, who'd proven that sometimes the kindest act in a storm really can rewrite more than one future. "Jack," Rachel said quietly. "Yeah. Thank you for stopping the truck." Jack smiled. "Thank you for surviving long enough for me to find you." Inside, the piano sat silent, but tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, someone would play it. Someone would fill the house with music. Because that's what they did now. They filled empty spaces. They made broken things whole. They turned pain into purpose. And when the snow stopped falling that night, Jack Foster lay in bed next to his wife and thought about all the people out there in storms of their own. He thought about the ones who'd be found, the ones who'd be saved, the ones who'd go on to do great things because someone stopped and helped. He thought about ordinary people doing extraordinary things, not because they wanted recognition or reward, but because it was right. And he fell asleep grateful. Grateful he'd stopped. Grateful he'd fought. Grateful he'd loved. Because in the end, that's all that really matters. Not the awards or the headlines or the fame, just the choice to help someone when they need it most. Just the courage to stand up when it's easier to walk away. Just the simple act of being kind in a world that desperately needs more kindness. Jack Foster was just a mechanic, just a single dad, just an ordinary person. But on one frozen night, he became something more. He became exactly what the world needed him to be. A hero.